Another week, another Gen Z is lazy and entitled article. They found that the number of 18-year-olds willing to work overtime if it meant they were doing the job to the best of their abilities dropped pretty significantly from 2020. Now, I think most generations saw a shift in their priorities after 2020, but I also think asking 18-year-olds is a little crazy. Like, I probably had a very different idea of what I thought work was going to be at 18 than I do at 26. And the number of people who said that if they didn't have to work, they still would want to also dropped down to 70%, which I think just goes to show that people want to work. They don't want to be exploited. And it's not the lack of a work ethic that causes lazy girl jobs and quiet quitting. It's the realization that we've been exploited for too long. Now, on a brighter note, Gen Z is learning to invest, which is great. And also, women are now investing at a higher rate in Gen Z than any other generation. So I guess the TLDR of this video is keep quiet quitting and keep investing.
Can you describe Gen Z in one word?
Lazy.
Why?
That's just a stigma that Gen Z folks have, unfortunately. But I know some that are not lazy. But generally, I think they are.
Gen Z are lazy, entitled, show no respect, are impossible to manage, and really need to buckle up their ideas and get real. By the way, those are not my words, but that's what I'm hearing when I go into companies and teach them about generational shifts, and more specifically, teach them about your generation. I don't think you guys really realize how much managers, millennials, Gen Xers, and boomers are really struggling with your generation in the workplace. For example, can Gen Z answer the phone? Because according to everyone else, they don't think you can. They don't think you can talk to clients, customers, or anyone else using a voice-activated device. Secondly, do you respect your elders? Because according to your elders, you don't. And there's not that same level of deference that they had when they were your age. You've probably got a good reason for this, but it totally bemuses them.
Gen Z is prioritizing living over working because they've seen the legacy of broken promises.
When I sit on panels, when people interview me, they always ask me the same question. Why is Gen Z so lazy? No. Gen Z's actually very smart, so let's get lazy out of our head. We're smart, and that's the reason why we get so much backlash. Hey, we have social media at the palm of our fingertips. So I can see online when somebody just got laid off in a very nasty, despicable way from a company. I can see online when somebody is not being paid the right amount of salary that they should be paid as their other colleagues. We can see it all online. But still, companies expect us to put all of our trust and all of our eggs in their basket that has a big hole at the bottom, and all the eggs are dropping through. That was a cute analogy. And since other generations don't want to change, we have to kind of like force you all to change. Because at the end of the day, we are the future of the workforce, baby. Can't get rid of us.
I think most of us in the workforce have a bone to pick with Gen Z. This app, and several others, where it's Instagram, YouTube, whatever, is full of people posting videos of them just leaving in the middle of the shift without telling anyone, or just saying, well, I'm just never going to show up to work again. I don't like it. On behalf of all of your coworkers, listen, I get if a job isn't for you. If it's not something you enjoy, maybe you don't enjoy your boss, maybe toxic workplace, or maybe it's just a job field you're finding out you don't like. That's fine. Tell somebody, say, hey, you know what? This isn't working out. I'm not coming back. Or give a 2 weeks notice, something. But whatever you do, don't just not show up. I've had a few jobs I didn't like. I've had some bosses I didn't like. At the same time, I may not have liked them, but I would still at least give notice before I left. And I understand things have changed. Not everyone's giving a 2-week notice. You don't have to give a 2-week fucking notice. You just have to give a notice.
I don't know what it is, but older people saying, oh yeah, the younger generation, they just don't want to work, is the most tone deaf. Is that the right phrase? This is the most tone deaf thing that you could hear right now. I say that because I personally know like more than 3 people around my age who have multiple jobs, like maybe a daytime job and a nighttime job and a part-time job and a side-time job. So what do you mean? Like, what do you mean the younger people don't want to work? And I get so confused when I hear them comments because I'm like, I've seen at least 4 to 5 videos saying the same thing about all these job applications, how people are applying and getting denied and da-da-da-woo. And I've seen thousands of people in all the comments on all these videos, including mine, saying how everybody's trying to apply to work, apply for jobs and we're getting denied, but nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. How are people saying that they've applied to 200, 300, 400, 500 jobs and still not getting hired? Who's not trying to work? Young people do not want to work at a corporation where they're getting paid $7 an hour, $15 an hour, when the average rent price is $1,600 and above for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, especially if we're degreed.
Hey everyone, it's Bree. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back in another video, and I'm here to talk about a topic that has been highly requested for this channel. I've seen people ask for it in the comment section as well as my topic submission form. But before we get into that topic, I actually want to shout out my sponsor for today's video, Ana Luisa. So Ana Luisa is a sustainable jewelry brand from New York that focuses on providing luxury pieces at affordable prices. And I'm here to show you guys 2 pieces that I received from them. So I'm actually wearing the pieces right now. I have these heart-shaped earrings as well as a matching necklace. Now, I am a sucker for heart-shaped jewelry. I am, and I feel like both of these pieces are very simple but really cute. Like, it's not doing too much, but it's doing just enough, if you know what I mean. And I love that this necklace looks like, you know, like a locket. Like, I don't have too many necklaces that have like that locket feel. And like I said, I really like these earrings. And I also don't have a lot of like matching sets, so this is like literally like perfect. So if you are interested in getting these earrings or this necklace or anything from their website, they're actually going to have Black Friday deals on their website where you can get these pieces at really good prices. And not only are these pieces made to last, but they're also hypoallergenic. And as somebody with sensitive skin, I really appreciate that a lot. I find that a lot of jewelry brands nowadays don't have a lot of hypoallergenic pieces, so I really appreciate being able to wear pieces that are made for sensitive skin. And even if you aren't looking for yourself, these pieces would make amazing gifts for the holidays. And we all know how expensive holiday shopping can be, especially when you are purchasing gifts for family, friends, your significant other. It can get expensive really quick. And so it's always better to get your gifts early and at a great cost. Make sure you guys check out the link in my description as well as my pinned comment to shop Ana Luisa's Black Friday sale so you can get your hands on quality jewelry at affordable prices. So back to the topic at hand. So a lot of you guys wanted me to talk about Gen Z in the workplace. This has been a hot button topic for a minute. I've seen it circulating, you know, on social media for months and months and months at this point, and I'm surprised that people are still talking about it. But you know, I seen the conversations, and you know, I do have an opinion on it, and I'm going to try my best, as I always do, to look at things objectively from both sides. I know a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like how I approach these videos where I try to look at it from both angles, but that is just literally how I like to go about things. You know, I don't feel like everything has to be so extreme and one-sided. Although, of course, there definitely are topics where I do feel very strongly in one direction. I try my best to address multiple sides, multiple angles. I feel like that's the healthiest way to have these conversations, and so I'm sorry if you are coming here to just have me be all on one side or the other. That's just not how I do these videos. And so yeah, you know, on the topic of Gen Z in the workplace, you know, there's been a conversation around Gen Z and their work ethic. You know, a lot of our generation in particular, you know, we've been accused of being lazy and, you know, not wanting to go to work, and just our overall work ethic not being good. And honestly, the conversation for me has been kind of frustrating as someone that is Gen Z, even though now I've been seeing people circulate the term zillennial around a whole lot. And I know there's different age or different years, I should say, of, you know, the people that fall within zillennials, but even from like the multiple year ranges that I've seen, I do fall into that. So I don't know if I should identify as being a zillennial more than Gen Z, but that's neither here nor there, right? You know, for the most part, like, I identify with Gen Z because that is the age bracket that I'll fall within, right? But obviously I'm on like the later end of Gen Z, right? And you know, for me, it's been a frustrating conversation because it's making people prejudge us, right, before we even get an opportunity to show what we can bring in these jobs and in these roles. And it's not even something that I had considered until I started to struggle a whole lot with getting job opportunities, that maybe my age has something to do with it. And you know, I did all the tips and tricks, right, of, you know, you don't put what year you graduated on your resume. You know, you try to mask that as much as possible and just lead with whatever your work experience is. But I feel like there still is kind of sort of a way that you can look at a resume and guesstimate, you know, someone's age, or guesstimate, you know, how many years they have in the industry. So even if you don't necessarily put, you know, when you graduated from college, if you put on there, like, if you have any college experience on your resume, it's assumed that, like, okay, you must have left college recently, and things, you know, like that. And so for me, it's been frustrating because, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that, like, it's all coming from a place of people just wanting to be judgmental. Some people are just making it up. No, I'm fully aware that there definitely are people of my generation who, they, you know, they don't have the best work ethic, but I don't think that that's just Gen Z. I think that you literally can find people in any generation, whether it's Gen Z, millennial, baby boomer. You're gonna have people from different generations that lack proper work ethic. And that's why I never understand these whole, like, generational wars that happen, because the stuff that y'all be saying, none of it can apply to an entire generation. Like, and I feel like we find ourselves in this situation where we're taking our limited experiences and we're using that to create an opinion and a narrative on an entire group of people. And that's where I get really frustrated, because I'm just like, just because you have had bad experiences with working with coworkers and they all happen to be within that Gen Z age range, that doesn't mean that they represent the collective. And I think for me, it's been frustrating because I don't fit that description of lazy, don't want to work, don't want to go into an office, don't know how to dress appropriately for a job. Like, all the things that are said about us, I don't identify with, and I've never been that way. Like, I've always prided myself on, you know, being a really great employee. I am someone that does, you know, show up on time to every single meeting. And although, yes, all of my jobs at this point, you know, have been remote, there's still a level of professionalism that you have even when working remotely, in terms of what you wear on camera and how you present yourself, you know, when you're talking to other people. And I've always prided myself on the fact that I've always shown up as my best self, always shown up ready to work, go above and beyond. And especially too, because a lot of my positions at this point have been internships where I'm trying to go after that full-time job, I'm trying to get promoted, and I'm trying to impress my boss and make a really good impression. I've always had the mindset of go in and do everything that I can and try to get the most out of it, learn as much as I can. I've always been someone that'll just take on any task that's thrown at me, even if it means working late nights. And I've also done that as well. Like, every single job that I've had at this point has required me to work past 5 o'clock. I had an internship where I worked more than 40 hours and I wasn't getting paid overtime, but just for the simple fact that I came in wanting to work towards this bigger goal, I'm like, I just gotta grind and do what I gotta do. And I've always had that type of mindset. And most, if not all, of my friends at this point are Gen Z. And we all have that same mindset. We all had the same mindset of working hard, showing up, doing what we got to do. And we all have a sense of professionalism. So that's why I always get confused when people are just constantly being like, oh, all of Gen Z doesn't know how to operate in the workplace. And I'm like, that's not my experience. But again, because that's not my experience, because I don't know any of my Gen Z friends or acquaintances that act that way, I'm also not gonna sit here and use that to say like there aren't anybody in Gen Z that acts like that. I just don't think it's all or everybody or majority like people are saying. But even in the midst of that, right, like let's go with that, right? Like, let's say most of Gen Z doesn't know how to show up in the workforce, right? Let's just say that, right? I think there's a couple of layers to this issue other than just Gen Z being late, right? And in me actually doing research on this topic, I've come to find that this actually is a multi-layer issue. And I actually do want to pull up an article real quick on the topic. Okay, so I put up this article by Forbes called Gen Z is labeled as difficult in the workplace, but there's more to the story. So, you know, as I was reading through this article, it talked about how, you know, our generation in particular particular is facing issues in the job market, which, you know, I've talked a lot about how, you know, Gen Z straight out of college, you know, we're having the hardest time trying to find work right now, especially after the pandemic, and how we're being faced with this whole, like, you know, you don't have enough experience, or, you know, them wanting years and years of experience for an entry level role, almost making it impossible to even get your foot in the door. And this article actually touched on how mental health can play a role in, you know, maybe some of the issues that employers are having with Gen Z. So right here it says Gen Z has an extreme online presence with social media usage reaching 4 or more hours a day, double the rate of all adults in the United States, according to Morning Consult Pro. They must contend with ego bruising and mental health struggles while comparing their inability to find the right job, feeling stuck in a temporary role in a retail store, worried about how they're going to pack back their college tuition debt, and feeling betrayed that they won't earn enough money to get an apartment, automobile, or save up for purchasing a home one day. And, you know, I've talked about this, and other people have, you know, said that, like, oh, every single generation has had problems with getting their foot in the door, with getting that, you know, well-paying job and feeling stuck and all those things, right? And yes, although that might be true that every single generation goes through that, you know, out of college, I think people continue to ignore and neglect the fact that social media plays a huge role in mental health. And is with our generation in particular, you know, social media has been a huge part of our lives, and, you know, it's easier said than done to just simply not look at what other people are doing and, you know, not comparing. But I think it is safe to say that, you know, that is tough, right? When you're in the space of already feeling uncertain or feeling insecure about where you are in your career, and, you know, trying to get that opportunity, and you might see other people around you who may have more than you, and that can take a toll on you mentally. Now, obviously the big question at hand, right, is, are Gen Zers difficult to deal with? And they said in an April survey by resumebuilder.com, 74% of managers and business leaders reported that they find Gen Z more difficult to work with than other generations. It says the respondents reported that this group tends to feel entitled and demonstrate a lack of effort, motivation, and productivity. Some managers reported having to fire Gen Z employees due to these issues. And again, I'm not excusing the people that, you know, actively don't want to work. Because let's be clear, right? There are bad employees out here. I know some of them. You know, like people who do the bare minimum, people who, you know, show up late to work every single day. Like I said, it could never be me. Like, I'm always someone that's going to show up on time, even if it's just a Zoom call. I'm always the first, quite literally, I'm always the first person on a Zoom call. Like, even like people who are above me, like senior executives, like even they don't be on time like I be on time. Okay, but I also recognize there's a lot of people who don't operate in that way. And again, I think when it comes to this in particular, like the lack of effort, motivation, productivity, all of this can be linked to mental health. Like when your mental health is in the sewers, it's hard to be motivated, it's hard to care, especially when you feel like the job that you have isn't even providing you with your basic needs and paying your bills and putting a roof over your head. A lot of people are working full-time jobs and they're still stuck at home. Like, it's really hard for a lot of people. So I also have empathy for the fact that, like, when you feel like you're almost doing all of this for nothing and you're not getting anywhere, and you feel like you've been lied to by the system, and you're just confused and you don't know what to do, I can understand how that can make it harder to show up. And, you know, again, someone like me and others that I know, like, for us, even though we may be feeling this way, you know, we can push through it and just, you know, continue to pray and hope that things will get better. But I can also see on the flip side how people might say, like, well, you know, it doesn't really feel like my career is going anywhere. It doesn't feel like I have a fair shot, a fair chance in this world. So why even bother? Why bother to give, you know, my best foot forward in this? Which goes into the next paragraph where, you know, Forbes, you know, they said to put things into perspective, the pandemic impinged on their education. I think I said that right. Forcing them into remote learning without being able to interact with their classmates in person. When a person is isolated, their interpersonal skills may suffer. And in May of 2022, a survey by McKinsey and Company, Gen Z self-reported remarkably high rates of mental health struggles, and 55% of 18 to 24-year-olds said that they've received a diagnosis and or a form of treatment for mental illness. And I can say that I actually fall within that as well. I also have gotten to go get looked at by a psychiatrist, and I've also received a diagnosis for, mental health as well. It says here Gen Z finds themselves in a inhospitable labor market with challenges in finding employment opportunities. There are overwhelming concerns about lack of jobs, financial security. Then it talks a little bit more about, how to overcome these things, right? Gen Z wanting to advocate for themselves, the needing to, practice getting more of that face-to-face communication and interaction with coworkers and things like that. But I wanted to pull up that article to kind of show that, like, it's more than just Gen Z being lazy. Like, normally there's a deeper rooted issue, especially if it's widespread like this, right? But also, even on that point, right, admittedly, again, this is something that I've just come to realize, with hearing people talk about this topic, right, is that for us, for our generation, right, we're very big on setting workplace boundaries, okay? For a lot of us, we aren't gonna tolerate much. We don't tolerate being disrespected, being underpaid, overworked, undervalued, and we've sat and watched our parents or people older than us who have struggled or who have stayed in a job for 10-15 years and they've never gotten a raise, or they get treated poorly, and or they've continued to struggle financially. And I think for a lot of us, we wanted to change that. We wanted to change the dynamic to say, hey, look, we deserve better. We deserve to get paid our worth. We deserve to get treated fairly. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I've always been an advocate for that. I've always said, like, at the end of the day, like, yes, like, hard work will get you far, but don't sacrifice your mental health and your well-being and your physical being as well, like just your health in general, for any job, because these jobs, most of them do not care. I feel like a lot of millennials and baby boomers, like, they're holding on to the whole, like, company loyalty thing. Like, they think, like, oh, if I stay at a company and I work my butt off for 15 years, like, it'll pay off. But I honestly feel like those days are over with. A lot of these companies, they look at you and treat you like a number, and so you can't look at them to take care of you and look out for your best well-being. You have to do that for yourself. And I think for a lot of us, we prioritize that. I've talked about how I've left jobs after being severely mistreated for very little pay. I'm talking about 12 an hour, and still being overworked, expecting to work weekends, and being yelled at and talked down to on Zoom calls. Like, I'm just, you can call me entitled, you can call me whatever you want, but I just don't feel as though that is, worth it, especially if, again, I'm barely even making ends meet with that. And that's how it's been for a lot of people. So although I am an advocate for that, I do think there may be some people that are taking that to the extreme, in terms of, like, setting boundaries. Like, again, there's a difference between not wanting to over exhaust yourself versus being lazy. There is a difference. There's a difference between, I'm gonna work within my working hours and that's it, versus I'm gonna show up to work late and I'm gonna leave early, right? Like, obviously there's a balance to it all, and I think that's what it boils down to, is you need to find a balance where you're still taking care of yourself, but you're also showing up as your best self for this job, because at the end of the day, like, you did work hard to get there. And sometimes when you do work hard at a company and you put your best foot forward, greater things can happen. You may get promoted, you may get more opportunities, but also a lot of times you find that you don't. And that's when you find where people will job hop, or they'll start to, kind of pull back and not give as much of themselves to a job. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And honestly, I see a lot of millennials starting to pick up that line of thinking as well, where a lot of millennials are also tired of working themselves to death for these companies that literally don't care about them. And so, I think that there are definitely, some genuine concerns, but overall, I don't think that the assumption should always be that, oh, this person is Gen Z, they're not gonna work hard, or they're gonna leave in 2 weeks, or whatever the case may be. Like, even with the whole, like, how you dress and how you present yourself, again, like, I'm fully aware that, when you go into a job interview, like, you put on either like a nice blazer and slacks, or some type of appropriate attire. There was this one video that had went around about this girl who wore like a mini skirt, I think, to a job interview, and they sent her back home to change, and she got upset over it. Again, I think these are very isolated incidents that go viral for a reason.
She wore shorts for job interview and got rejected.
And then they decided to reschedule the interview with me for tomorrow. But before they rescheduled, the lady was like, would you like to come back? Like, go change and then come back? And I was like, no. These are the shorts. Let me turn some side for y'all. These are the shorts.
I don't think it's the norm. Again, I don't know a single person in my life that would show up to a job interview in a miniskirt. I don't know a single one. I really don't think that that is like just the norm. But I understand that obviously it does happen. Some people don't know any better. But I hate that it's become a reflection of all of us in our entirety. Like, and it sucks to think that maybe part of why I personally have struggled to find a full-time job is because of other people in my generation making the collective look bad. Like, that is also very frustrating, that like someone may see my resume or they may see me on LinkedIn, right? Because now companies are looking you up on LinkedIn before they even offer you a job interview, and they might say, oh, this person looks Gen Z, they look really young, they probably aren't gonna work hard, they probably aren't gonna be a good fit, they're probably gonna be difficult to work with. And it's like, bro, you don't even know me. And what's crazy is that I'm such a yes and employee in terms of like, anything you tell me to do, I'm gonna get it done somehow, some way. Again, even if that means I gotta stay up till 1 in the morning, which I've done before, even if that means I gotta work the weekend to make sure that I meet deadlines. Like, I am someone that is very, very serious about meeting deadlines and doing everything that I need to do, finishing work early if possible. Like, I'm very, very serious about the work that I do, no matter where I'm working or what my position is. And I would hate for someone to not give me a chance just because of some of the things that they see online about our generation. And so I say all that to say that although, yes, of course, there are some people out there who may not have the best work ethic and don't know how to show up in the workplace, please remember it's not all and it's not fair to judge somebody off of their age. Same way that, people who are older get age shamed, right? Because for a long time, baby boomers were also having a hard time getting hired, and they would sometimes hide how long they've been working because they don't want to be judged. They don't want people to think like, oh, they're a little bit older, they're not gonna know certain things, or they might be harder to train. Like, age shaming can go across the board, right? Whether you're super young or super older. But at the end of the day, you should not judge somebody off of their age. You should judge them off of who they are, who they show up as in that moment, the type of work that they've done in the past. Do they have a history of, providing good work? That's what you find out in the interview. But to not even give someone the opportunity just because of their age, I think is incredibly disappointing and frustrating. And I do hope that that changes. I hope that more companies start to give us more of a chance. And I also hope that more companies aren't, because I also feel too that like, even when we do get opportunities, there's this level of like, not necessarily keeping distance, but almost being like overly micromanaging because they feel like we aren't like capable of handling ourselves. And at that point, it's like, okay, so why did you hire me on in the first place if you didn't trust me to be in this role? So yeah, those are my thoughts. Ultimately, again, I don't believe it's all Gen Z, and I really hope that this narrative changes because we also deserve a chance in the workplace. Like, we deserve to eat and make money and have opportunities as well, just as much as the next person. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on the topic. If you guys have any thoughts on this topic, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have any topics that you guys want me to cover on the channel, make sure you guys also check out the link to my topic submission form in my bio and in my pinned comment. And as I said earlier in the video, if you guys are interested in checking out any of these pieces from Ana Luisa and you want to shop their Black Friday sale, also check out the link in my description as well as my pinned comment. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead, give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.